Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of The Best and Worst of Walt Disney World. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friends, Sean Falk.
Hi.
Charles Boda.
Hello.
Steve Porter.
Hello.
And because it was such a success, the last one of these we did, we're going to be doing it again, our Sucks Doesn't Suck episode. If you didn't watch the last one, basically, I have come up with a list of things that I'm going to throw out to the table. They do not know what it is I'm going to mention. And everyone has in front of them right now two paddles. One that says suck, one that says doesn't suck. And when I throw these things out, they have to hold up their paddles. And one person at the table in particular has to stick to his first impulse. Okay? Because the first time we did this, it was...
I changed my opinion.
Well, you're going to have to stick with your first impulse now because we're going to call you out on it.
All right.
All right? All right. So last time we did Fantasyland, so we're going to move over one space on the hub and talk about Tomorrowland. And I'm going to throw out some things from Tomorrowland and get you to share your opinion. We'll start with an easy one. Cosmic Rays Starlight Café.
What?
All right, we're going to go to you, Charles.
Okay.
Doesn't suck.
Good luck defending this.
What's the name of the Sunny
Eclipse.
Sunny Eclipse? I happen to enjoy the musical stylings of Sunny Eclipse. No, I like it's terrible, but I like how terrible it is. I really enjoy walking through. I get good vibes when I go through it.
So you're saying that Cosmic Rays is so bad it's good?
Yes, it's the B movie of Disney eateries, and I like the food isn't good, but when you walk in, do you expect it to be? Like I get good vibes when I sit in there. I enjoy it, so it doesn't suck.
All right, so Steve, you were pretty vocal there. Good luck defending this one, I believe was the quote.
I'm pretty speechless with that defense because I feel like it made my argument in that it's so horrible. The food there is standard quick service food, but worse somehow. There's never an available table. It's like always super crowded. Even I think it's the second most popular quick service location I think in the world or in the United States. It's some absurd thing like that. And Sunny Eclipse is cute and he's nice. And they do have little sauces like garlic aioli or aioli, whatever. That's pretty good, but no, it's a horrible, horrible quick service. And don't go there.
Sean.
I said it sucks, and literally last time I gave everything a doesn't suck. So I think that it sucks. I think it's terrible, and it's not even that the food is so bad or anything, because it's pretty on level for. It's just not great. But even like the aesthetic of the place, I just don't like it. I don't like this. The tables are really small for like big groups of people. There's not enough chairs. I hate that piano monster, and I just hate it or whatever. It's awful. I just hate
Sunny Eclipse, the piano monster.
I don't care. I don't like it.
Well, the correct answer for Cosmic Rays Starlight Cafe is sucks. It sucks. So.
And you guys are going to be on the right side of history with this one, I'm well aware. But,
it's not even history. We're on the right side of now.
But I do want to clarify, I'm not just throwing that out there to be contrarian. I'm kind of glad it exists. If it went away, I would be a little sad.
All right.
You do you.
You do you. Hashtag you do you, Charles. All right. Moving on. Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin. Okay, so we have some dissension in the ranks here. Sean, you say it sucks.
Yeah, I just said it sucks because I don't like that you can't pick the guns up, and that's a big thing for me in the California one. So I grew up my whole life playing this game where the gun is in like a holster and you can actually move around and shoot with it, and the same with Men in Black in Universal Studios. And so for this to just be stationary, because it's stationary, I can't find my red laser light. I can't figure out what's going on as far as a lot of it goes. And I don't like it for that reason. So,
all right. Steve.
I said doesn't suck just because I worked on this attraction, so I have a little bit of nostalgia towards it. So breaking free from that is a little difficult for me. I love this attraction because I'm good at it. Humble brag, but it's really fun when you can beat all your friends at the game. So, but I will say, if you go online, you can find out where all the targets are. And then if you do beat your family and you get Galactic Hero, then it makes your day and it's super fun. So I love it.
Charles. You said doesn't suck?
I do say it doesn't suck. And I was thinking the same thing along Sean's lines as far as like comparing it, but I'm not going to compare it. I'm just, do I enjoy it? Do I have a good time? And yeah, it's fun. The only drawback is I don't like the queue, and there happens to be a weird smell. I'm not sure if that's just my bad luck or whether the queue just has a weird smell. But I really enjoy it. I knew Steve had been a cast member there, and one time I texted him to try and see if he would give me tips on doing really well, and he didn't get back to me till right after I got out of the ride, and I did terribly, and I looked stupid. So Steve is a bad friend.
Well, the correct answer for this attraction is actually doesn't suck, but on the verge of sucking. And here's why I think it's on the verge of sucking. I love the ride. I love the game. I think it's a lot of fun. It is in such a state of disrepair every time I go in there. Those cars are disgusting. There are routinely things along the ride path that are clearly not working. For that reason, this ride is very, very close, in my book anyway, into going into suckdom. Right now, it's still a favorite of mine. I always take if I have an opportunity, I always take it to go on the attraction. And I think maybe because I started with this attraction and then did the one in California, I prefer this one. But I think your point's well taken, that it would be easier if we could take the guns out. And shoot them. That is a little bit restrictive. All right, moving on. The People Mover.
Oh, come on. If anyone...
Doesn't suck. I knew that. There's no point in even talking about it. The People Mover is, in my opinion, among the best attractions at Walt Disney World. What will happen? What will happen if they try and close that?
I mean, I don't think it's like one of the best things ever, but it's really relaxing to like just sit and have a quick spin around the thing. But it's not like you.
But that's
it's a phenomenal thing.
It is.
It is.
It is because it is so different than really anything else at Walt Disney World. It is this tour through Tomorrowland.
I guess I don't know. I can't really hear what they're saying very well. But
how can you not?
Like when they're talking on the thing.
Well,
Paging Mr. Morrow, Mr. Tom Morrow.
Yeah.
Getting to go like past the original model for Walt's vision of Epcot, going through Space Mountain, even going past Buzz Lightyear and looking down at the attraction, and going past the castle. I have often said that they should do a thing where you can get a box lunch and just stay on it for and go around and have lunch. That would be I think the coolest thing ever. Of all the ideas I have thrown out on the show that Disney has taken and done something with, I really want you guys to do something with this. Box lunch, he always looking for an upcharge. You have any idea how many people you'd put in the People Mover? If you said, okay, so, for $24.99, you get this box lunch and a drink, and you can stay on the People Mover for a half hour.
It contains a very hot coffee.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think I love People Mover. That was nice and easy. This one I think is going to be a little different. The Tomorrowland Speedway.
Oh.
Tomorrowland Speedway. All right, Charles, why does it suck?
Because it sucks.
Why though?
Oh, should I elaborate? I
must
thought this was common knowledge. No, I remember the first time I ever went on it when I was younger, and as a kid, you think you're gonna be able to do something, have some control. I've been to go-kart tracks before I ever saw the Tomorrowland Speedway, so I knew what riding in a go-kart was like. You think you're going to be able to do it, and like there's not a lot of great scenery around it either. So you're just like on a track, pretty much with no real control over it, pretending you're driving in the hot Florida sun with not too much to look at. Like it doesn't offer a lot ride-wise. It's just a time killer. It sucks. It sucks.
Okay, Sean, you said it sucks.
Yeah, no, I hate it. I hate Tomorrowland Speedway. I hate Autopia just as much out in California. I always hated it, even when I was a kid. We went on it a couple of times, and I was like, I don't like this. Even as a child, I didn't want to get on it. I still don't like it as an adult. The last time I attempted to go on it, this fool in front of me stopped and waited for the fireworks because they had a good view of the fireworks from there. So literally, like the cast members like, go, you have to keep going, and they just were like, no. And you're stuck on a track behind them. So I had to sit there with me behind a pole as they sat and watched the fireworks from there. And I'm like, that was the end of it for me. Like I already hated it, but I was like, I just really hate this now. So,
Steve?
Okay, so I hate it for all the reasons they've mentioned. Plus, this attraction smells so bad from the fumes that these cars put out that if this is going to be Tomorrowland and it's supposed to be a futuristic place, they should at least invest in electric vehicles or something that wouldn't be like putting fumes in children's faces. And this room, or the space that this attraction takes up, is massive. If you look at the map of the Magic Kingdom,
yeah.
It's like 2/3 or like a third of Tomorrowland. Mm-hmm. And when it was announced at D23 that we were getting the Tron roller coaster, I almost had a reaction of like, yes, that means Speedway is going away. And then I saw the concept artwork and I realized that they're still somehow keeping Speedway. But I was actually mad that they're keeping this attraction rather than keeping both. But I hate it.
Well, let me play devil's advocate. What about, think about it from the standpoint of little kids who get to drive a car.
We were when I was a
it.
child, and you don't get to drive a car. Like I said, you can go to there are all different versions of go-kart tracks in pretty much, I'm assuming, every state, but definitely in Central Florida, where as a little kid you can go in slower ones, or then you can go in faster ones the older you are, but where you can actually drive the go-kart, as in make turns and slow down, speed up, and
well, obviously they're not going to give children full reign. But I'm just thinking about it from the standpoint. Look, I agree, the attraction sucks, but obviously a lot of people take their kids on this.
Oh, they do. The line's on.
People are wrong about plenty of things.
Charles.boda@disneyinfo.com is the email address to send. That's where you send that. All right. Let's go into something a little more nebulous. The laugh floor. Monsters, Inc. laugh floor.
No, I'm sorry. That was obviously a mistake.
Yeah, I was wondering. Why? All right, Charles, we're going to you. You say it sucks.
Okay, now I'm speaking just from my perspective, but I'm not the only person in the world who feels like this. The audience participation things. I will tell you what happened on my trip really quick to Laugh Floor. I'd never been there before, and it was like my first ever Disney date, as in I met a girl at Disney, and we went on Laugh Floor. We walked in, 30 seconds go by, and I'm like, oh, I'm leaving. Wait, are you sure? Don't you want to see? Nope, I am out. And then I left, and so I experienced about 30 seconds of it. But if you have any kind of anxiety or you're a nervous person, if you don't like attention called to you, then it's horrifying. It's the last possible place that you want to be. So I don't like audience participation stuff. No, not for people like me. That just awful. I will never go in there again, unless like my job specifically depends on it.
All right, Steve.
This is another attraction I worked on. I will say a quarter of these shows are good, and the rest of them aren't. But it's worth attempting to go in for the ones that are hilarious, because every once in a while the monsters will get into a conversation or something, make some joke with an audience member that's absolutely hilarious. That borderlines on appropriate for Disney World. And those are the best shows ever. the other times, it's a fun show and it's cute, but it's worth going in, and it doesn't suck for the 1 in every 4 times that it's hilarious.
Sean.
I have always had really good. I said it doesn't suck. I've had really amazing experiences here every time I've ever been. It's the place that, because I didn't enjoy my time working at Disney, and it's somewhere I wouldn't work again. But I've always said, one of the very few places they could get me to work would be Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, because I'm like, I'd love to sit in there and get to watch the shows.
It was great.
Right, I would love to see the shows, and I enjoy doing it. I'm okay with the wait holding room, even though it's really long, because I like the video from the front. I am a big corny joke person. I love like corny dad joke kind of things. That and dark humor. Like I'm like one scale versus the other, but that's what I like, and I don't know. I love it. I've never seen a bad one. Even the ones that are kind of going bad, they'll, like, if they can't get there was once I saw where they couldn't get this girl to like really participate or whatever, and so finally they were like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And she was like, I don't know. Like everything she said was, I don't know, or whatever. And he was like, oh, you should be a dentist because this is like pulling teeth or whatever. And it was so fun. I laughed about it the rest of the day, and I was like, I love this ride. I love this show. So yeah, no, it's great.
Well, I say it sucks because I've never done it, and if I haven't done it, there must be a reason, so it must suck. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I really don't have an opinion on it one way or the other. So, all right, let's head over to Carousel of Progress.
Oh.
Pretty unanimous there. Everybody who's holding up doesn't suck paddles. Charles, why doesn't it suck?
It doesn't. I like animatronics, like just flat out base animatronics. I really like rides that have that, or attractions that have that. It's nice and lengthy. It's air conditioned and cool on a hot day. So if you've been like wandering around the park and your feet are starting to kill you and your back's starting to kill you and everything like that, but you don't want to like waste time sitting down. You still want to enjoy an attraction while you're doing that. Carousel of Progress is great. The only downside to it is that they could do a better job updating the last scene, the futuristic part and everything, and modernize that a bit, or rather futurize that a bit. But otherwise, I enjoy it. I like animatronics. They're cool to me. Even the older animatronics that you go, that's still history to me, and that's still really, really fun to watch. So things like that are just great.
Steve.
Definitely doesn't suck. This is a classic Walt Disney World attraction, classic Disney attraction, in that Walt himself worked on it. The Sherman Brothers wrote the music. If you don't know the Sherman Brothers, look them up. You know, It's a Small World, Winnie the Pooh, so many other classic Disney Mary Poppins, so many other classic Disney songs. And then they wrote Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, obviously, which is the song of this attraction. And it is a great break, like Charles was saying. You get 20 minutes or so in the shade. I will say about the final scene, just to say my own little opinion on it, is I actually kind of wish they would go back to the decades that the attraction originally had, because then they could just kind of be done with it, because now they're in this weird flux period, that last scene where it's like kind of the 90s, kind of the 2000s, and kind of like not really current theme, but it's current year themed. And then I feel like the attraction doesn't get enough traffic that they can probably budget enough to constantly update that. Mm-hmm. So I think they should just go back to kind of what the original was, and then just be like, okay, we're done. This is it is what it is, because this is the show.
Right. What was the original? Because I don't know.
Well, I think it ended in like the 80s, or I don't know when it ended, but I don't know if anyone knows.
But that wouldn't have been the original, I guess.
Right? Well, the original
there
from
was a
1960.
future. Okay,
so in 1964, it was in the New York World's Fair.
Right.
And it was sponsored by GE. And I'm not sure what the decades were back then.
Right.
But I'm sure the first like two were the same, and then the more current two had to be updated. But I don't know the original timeline, but I just kind of wish they would go back to whatever that was, because then they wouldn't be in this state of that last scene being, is it supposed to be current? Is it supposed to be in the 90s? When is this supposed to be? But other than that, I absolutely love this attraction.
Sean, what about you? Why do
Yeah.
you say it doesn't suck?
I don't think it sucks. I love getting to see the actual things that like I've heard my dad and my grandparents and all that kind of stuff talk about, just because my dad was like 40 when I was born. So even then he, is able to tell me about a lot of these things that are in the ride and be like, oh, I remember my grandmother used to have, like, that's how they had that ice box like that, or, that kind of stuff. So I'm like, oh, it's neat to get to actually visually see these things and how life was, and that it's pretty accurate in that way. I do agree with what they're saying about the last scene. Because, on one side you have this, like, almost Alexa kind of thing of like, oh, like start the oven, but then blonde girl's bragging about having a car phone. So I'm like, well, there we go. So I don't know where we're at in time here.
Also, the fashion of the
right.
animatronics is like the 90s. It makes
Yeah.
Well, can we just assume that they're all hipsters, and so they're ironically owning car phones and bragging about outdated fashion?
I could see
Maybe.
that. But I will say I like the idea of going back to just whatever the scene was before, because I always thought, well, they need to update, but I'd rather them just go back so it could just stay the same. And I will say the only other thing is, if you're sitting on the left side of the room, like whenever, or the right side of the room and any far corner, when Judith or the mom or whoever's talking, like if they're on the opposite end on the parts that just pop up, I cannot hear what they're saying because it's set like that surround sound kind of way. So if you're on the far right, you can't hear what the far left is saying, and vice versa for me. So,
Well, I'm going to agree with everybody else. It doesn't suck. The reasons for me, though, because I'll tell you that I was just said that Buzz Lightyear was on the verge of a sucks rating for me, because being in a state of disrepair. This is another attraction that could use some love. It's gotten some more recently, so they have made it a bit better. It still needs some more. But it is one of the only direct connections to Walt Disney that exists in our parks. That is not currently out in Disneyland. This was developed for the 1964 World's Fair. So it is that, it's, for the most part, it's that attraction. And so it's, you go out to Disneyland, you got great moments with Mr. Link, and you have the original Small World that was made for the 1964 World's Fair. Ours was a
Copycat.
A copycat. You got a lot of things out there, obviously original to Walt Disney. That was his park. That was the only park he ever stepped foot in. He never stepped foot in Walt Disney World. He died before it was built. So, having the Carousel of Progress there really is kind of that homage to him and that period, the 64 World's Fair, which I was there, although in utero, because my mother was pregnant with me riding It's a Small World at the 64 World's Fair. But, that just, I think that's almost like a golden age of Disney. I think that's where it really all started coming together with Walt Disney Imagineering, and how far they realized they could go with what they were doing. Disneyland was a success, and the 64 World's Fair was almost in a way like a coming out party for Walt Disney Imagineering. So that's why, to me, it kind of connects to that. So, all right, finally, last but not least, Space Mountain. All right, everybody's holding up doesn't suck panels except me right now. But Sean,
I just really enjoy this ride. I think it's one of the few thrill attractions that I actually am like, okay, this is on par with other theme parks like Six Flags or Universal or whatever, where I'm like, okay, this is a legitimate thrill attraction. And I do think that's something Disney lacks in a lot of ways. I wish they had more of that for, not even just for teenagers. I mean, people that are older, I know that love going to ride roller coasters and stuff. But at least this, because it's in the dark, I did ride it once. I went in and like the thing took off and it was, all the lights were on. And I will say it is a big hunk of crap whenever you see it with the lights on. But when you're riding it with the lights off, it's really cool. And it seemed, it's great, but they need to keep the lights off. So.
Charles.
Yeah, I'm going doesn't suck. And the thing is, in my brain, and this happens a lot, I immediately wanted to compare it to Hyperspace Mountain, which I absolutely love in Disneyland, but I'm not. Comparisons are ridiculous between the parks. Does it suck? Do I love it? yeah, I mean, like, it doesn't suck. I do love it. I know what it is too. It's pretty much like a carnival kind of roller coaster track thing, but it's dark and there are sound effects and everything like that. So I know it's not like the most innovative or most groundbreaking thing, but it's fun. I really enjoy the queue going up there. I like the whole space station atmosphere to it, and ours in Walt Disney World is a bit more rickety than Hyperspace Mountain, and I kind of like that because it adds a little to the "oh my god, am I going to die" thing. I know that that's not necessarily intentional, the ricketiness, but yeah, I really enjoy it, and that Steve.
I'm saying doesn't suck as well. I'm right there with Charles in saying that Hyperspace Mountain and Space Mountain, even when it's not hyperspace, in Disneyland, is much better than our Space Mountain. But that doesn't mean that our Space Mountain isn't still great. I think it does kind of hurt your back, like you were saying, but it's just fun. I don't know what else to say else about it. It's a classic Disney attraction. Opened I think on the same day or around the same days as the People Mover or our People Mover in Walt Disney World. So that was kind of like those two are kind of the staple holding down Tomorrowland, and they could get rid of basically anything in Tomorrowland except for those two things for me, because those are the two that make it what it is. So I love it.
And I'm going to disagree with everybody, and I'm going with sucks. And here's why. I think you can compare. When it's the same attraction in both parks, I think it's fair to make those comparisons. They have done so much more with Space Mountain in Disneyland. Why haven't we? It's the same damn attraction. Why are their cars so much more comfortable? Why are they able to do these projections when they do the whole Hyperspace Mountain thing? Why are they able to do these projections? Why are we phoning it in? And that's what I feel every time I go on Space Mountain here, after having done it in California. I say to myself, why are we phoning it in? For that reason, in my opinion, it deserves the suck paddle. Because I think it could be so much better. There's no reason for those cars to be that uncomfortable. There's no reason for them not to up their game with this. And I don't think it would cost all that much to do it. I think they're spending a lot more for a lot less in other places on property to upgrade things and change things. I don't know why this one has gone this long without it. So for me, Space Mountain is kind of a suck.
The big issue by comparison, that if there was something I wanted them to do or update, I do wish it had the double seats like Space Mountain and Disneyland does, just because that gets more people on, and that line gets so excessive sometimes. Obviously, if you could get double the people per ride, the wait time would cut in half virtually. Right.
So, all right, there you have it, our best and worst of Tomorrowland at Disney's Magic Kingdom, and we hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you again next week with another episode of the best and worst of Walt Disney World. Have a great week, everybody.